I thank the gentleman. I'd like to welcome now a distinguished member and long-serving member of the Ways and Means Committee, the chairman of the Subcommittee on Health, the gentleman from California, Mr. Herger, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate an opportunity to sit on the panel. Mr. Sheldon, today there's been a lot of discussion about the positive of information sharing, but I want to bring it back to an issue that is easily overlooked and potentially more important. I want to discuss the safeguards that should be in place to ensure that the personal data of program beneficiaries is kept secret. As you may have heard from recent news reports, California's Department of Child Support Services lost computerized storage devices that were being transported as part of a disaster recovery test last month. These devices held the personal data of 800,000 parents, guardians, and children, compromising their names, addresses, driver license numbers, social security numbers, health insurance, and employer information. The news reports of the incident are extremely troubling. We do not have much information other than the devices went missing somewhere between Colorado and California. I want to make sure this security lapse is taken as seriously by the government agencies involved as by the families whose personal information has been lost. I'd like to know what safeguards states operating child support enforcement and other federal programs are required to have in place to protect personal data. Has HHS looked into the incident in California? And if so, did California's Department of Child Services violate any of the safeguards that should have been in place?
Congressman, I couldn't agree with you more. Our child support enforcement efforts nationally have had a 15-year unblemished record in terms of protecting data. We do take what happened in California extremely seriously. We immediately reached out to California when it came to our attention to determine, number one, the nature of the loss, what information was lost, the level of data exposure, and we are still working with them. And I have asked that we go back and look at our protocols of what we are requiring of states. I've been assured that there are a lot of protocols in place in terms of making sure that states comply with confidentiality. But I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can in this area. We will continue to work with California. The information that we've gotten back to date indicates that I think that there were 5 canisters lost, and one of those has been regained. We requested that the state immediately identify the individuals, notify those individuals of the potential breach, and that is ongoing as we speak, I believe.
And Mr. Sheldon, could you tell me, what does your agency plan to do going forward to prevent this type of lapse from happening again?
Well, the first thing we're doing is we're reviewing to make sure that states are maintaining the current safeguard requirements that we have in place. We currently are doing routine monitoring of states. We will increase that monitoring on an ongoing basis. I think, quite frankly, we also are identifying through a lot of those routine efforts if there were any unauthorized use of information. We are employing technical assistance teams to work with states in this arena. So I share your concern because I think this was a serious breach, and we are trying to double our efforts in working with states and holding them accountable.
Well, Mr. Sheldon, I appreciate your taking this seriously. Again, it's difficult to comprehend how something like this could happen.
And this was, as I understand it, emergency disaster exercise, and to have this happen on that kind of exercise is in itself problematic, because the purpose of those exercises is just the opposite. I would point out that the state did have backup information, so there was no loss on the part of the state, but exposing confidential information of individual citizens, I think, is cause for serious alarm.
Well, again, I appreciate that, again, it's very important, as you can understand. Number one, to understand how this could happen, even in basically a mock-up trial. Imagine what would happen if there was an actual emergency. But I think I'm sure you can understand how it's very important that we check and double check and make sure this doesn't happen again. And again, I thank you very much.
And Mr. Chairman, what I'd like to do is get back with you as we proceed, so that you know exactly what steps that we are taking as it relates to this particular breach.
I'd appreciate you doing that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.